Thursday. It's the last day of setup for the Hong Kong Sevens tournament here in the Hong Kong Stadium on Hong Kong Island. Over the next 3 days, 120,000 people are going to be in this stadium to watch teams battle it out for the Hong Kong Sevens Championship. And Ideal Systems are here working with Now TV and working with PCCW to produce the 360 VR experience that people will be able to watch through Oculus headsets, Samsung Gear headsets, and also on tablets and mobile devices, or on a PC with a mouse to be able to move around in 3D. This is cutting edge technology that we're using here because the cameras that we're using are Nokia OZO. This is part of Ideal Systems Ideal Live, and our Ideal Live is the rental and live production division of Ideal Systems. And we're bringing these 360 cameras out for live events. This is really something that hasn't been done so much. Down in the control room, we've got a rack of equipment. We're working with our partners in Harmonic, working with a number of other partners as well as the team from Nokia OZO. And a big shout out again to the people in Oculus for getting our app approved in the App Store so we can get it onto the Samsungs as well. Big bunch of people behind us to make this a reality. Here in the stadium, we have a Nokia OZO camera on the south side of the pitch. We have one here in the middle of the pitch, and we've got one over here on my left in the north side of the pitch, all facing out with their 3D view because they're 360 cameras, but on their forward-facing axis, it actually is a binocular 360, which gives the real VR virtual reality experience for viewers, as well as the 360 surround sound as well. This is quite an immersive experience. It's a first in the world for rugby live coverage. It's first in Asia for any sort of major international sports event to be done in 360, and Ideal Systems is very proud here in Hong Kong at the Rugby Sevens to bring this absolute cutting-edge technology into the sport of rugby and to provide this new ideal viewpoint, excuse the pun, for viewers at the side of the pitch that you can have a virtual seat on the touchline here in Hong Kong Stadium. So we're going to go down to the control room now. We're going to meet some of the people who are involved in the acquisition, the production and the distribution of systems that we have linked together to make this a reality. So if you want to join me, we're going to go down into the heart of the systems rooms hidden down in the dungeons underneath the stadiums behind me. See you downstairs. Marcus is responsible for customer relations for Asia for Nokia OZO. So Marcus, can you give us a run through from the Nokia side on the OZO, the production, doing this, how the live sports differentiates from obviously the more production side, which is a lot of what's been done in 360 so far. I mean, how cutting edge is this live coverage, multi-switch 3D, 4K productions?
So this, I think I can say, this is probably the first full end-to-end solution that we're doing. So we have full 3D 360 stitching, so full VR experience with ambisonic audio. And then from there it goes back to the encoder side and then out to a Gear VR, which also uses our technology, something we call Play SDK. So what we're really interested in is enabling a full workflow experience, right, from capture to delivery. So that's sort of a part that was missing up until now, but you're actually one of our first partners who puts in that solution and actually makes this app. So that's fantastic. So what we're going to see in this one, with the Oculus app that you guys published in the store for the clients, we're going to see a full-on solution where we capture 3D 360, and we're going to run it through full live stitching and switching in a live environment with minor delay. And we're going to post that to an app, so everyone has a Samsung phone and the Gear VR can go in the store, download that app, and watch that stream from free cameras streaming from the Hong Kong Sevens tournament. So I think that's something really exciting, and we're doing it all in UHD resolution.
One thing you mentioned, and this is something that really is a differentiator for the Nokia OZO camera as opposed to other 360 cameras. Can you tell us a bit about how it's 360 and 3D? Because these, people think 3D as a failed technology or a didn't really run too well, but this is 3D within 360. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
When we were creating the OZO, we were looking at what we're talking about virtual reality here. So how do you replicate reality, right? So first it has to be 360 degrees, but it also needs to be dimensional, because the way we see is stereoscopic, right? So based on that, we designed a camera that is not only able to capture just a 360-degree image, but a dimensional 360-degree image, a stereoscopic 360-degree image. So I think it's a really, really crucial thing to point out, because when we talk about virtual reality, the word reality in it implies that sort of attribute, right? And we hear a lot of 360 and VR, so there's a lot of difference. I'd like to point out 360 video is not VR. So I would say this is like one of the first like full-on VR life experience that have been done, because, you know, like I said already, the app hasn't been published before in using our Play SDK, which enables the full experience. So I think that's what makes this really unique. And I think especially for sports and rugby, you need that three-dimensionality to get the full experience, because they're big guys. There's a lot of action. They're crashing into each other. I mean, it's enough the sport that you just can't convey if you're watching it on a flat surface. And I think that's one of the biggest things to us to point out, that 360 does not mean VR. And there's a bunch of articles that have been written about that on the web, right? Because it's a lot of people jumping on that. They call VR train, right? So they're delivering experiences which are 360-degree video, which is fine, but that shouldn't be sold as a VR experience, because it's not. And that's what differs on that experience, because we actually can provide this. So this is really exciting, and I think can't wait to see it.
We're not trying to scare people with the app, but a bunch of large rugby players running at you in 3D, and when you got a VR headset, it's very scary. When I was a young schoolboy playing rugby, I found it scary. I'm still terrified. All the other teams were always bigger, and I'm not small. It's scary. In a virtual headset, it's a game changer. As Darren mentioned earlier on, you can actually look at it on YouTube and pan around. That gets you around at 360, but doesn't give you the 3D, so they don't jump out and scare you.
One other thing I'd like to mention, because you said 3D failed technology, right? The problem, I think, was, especially on the TV side, on the broadcaster side, is like, we had technology that was not capable of delivering the sort of quality we needed to the end customer. And also what's the main problem was the display side, right? So we didn't have enough manufacturers, or we had manufacturers that were developing their own standards. So now what we have in the VR space, we at least sort of agree on a common standard, the way we are like putting it into an HMD, a head-mounted display, and we are deriving that 3D image. Not to mention that there's a lot of VR experiences that get driven by game engines that are all-dimensional already. So that's what people expect. So they expect to have a 3D 360 video as well to get the full VR experience.
Marcus, can you tell us a little bit about the camera, what the lenses are, what sort of resolution, and how you get that amount of data out of such a little cable?
Happy to answer that. So what you're looking at is our Nokia OZO camera. So we have 8 lenses on here that you can see, and I'd like to point out, there's not just lenses, there's also small microphones placed around the camera. So there's also 8 microphones. So not only do we capture 360-degree 3D image, but we also capture 3-dimensional sound, which is also very important and important to point out. So out of these sensors, so each of these lenses has a 2K by 2K image. We compress that signal through this fiber cable back here. It's actually using something called an SFP adapter, which is an industry standard. We're getting the 2K by 2K in a raw signal, so it's Bayer pattern, so it means it's in a raw format. It's getting packaged into this fiber line right here, and getting decoded on a live stitching server on the other side. So right here, what you mostly see when you connect directly would be just noise, because it's raw data. And that's actually the way we are managing to get all this information into this one cable, is by keeping the raw data and keeping the raw Bayer pattern while we are sending it to the stitcher. Generally speaking, the way we can connect to the camera is 2 ways. We can connect to it wirelessly, but in this case, what we did, we actually enabled, so we can network the camera and actually provide remote control over the web browser, right? So we can adjust exposure remotely, because we are like, 500 meters away, somewhere in the bottom of the stadium. So we wanted to make sure we can control the camera as well. So we have back here, it's actually converts the USB ports through a Raspberry Pi, which is very inexpensive, which lives down here, and then acts as a router, goes out into a fiber, basically taking the fiber and going back to Ethernet, and then we get a web page control. So not only do we have full control on the live stitching parameters on the live server, but we can of course also control parameters like shutter, color temperature, etc., which dynamically adjust throughout the day.
I'd like to introduce Aniket. Aniket heads our live production services at Ideal Systems. So Aniket's responsible for going out to all our live production sites all over Asia. Has many years of experience in live production, but obviously here when we're doing multiple switched 360-degree 4K workflow, this is kind of new stuff. So I'm interested to hear Aniket's view on how different this is from the traditional kind of workflows in the SDI world. Now we're in the IP world, we're in the 4K world, we're in the 360 world, we're in the 3D world. That's a whole lot of game-changing technology all to slap into one live event here. So can you run us from where it goes from here and what the workflow is, and from your experience, how different is it from previous legacy production world that you're accustomed to? Aniket.
Thank you, Fintan. So what the OZO does, it basically is a 8-camera output, and it starts with a traditional IP output. We go into the broadcast world and then go back into the IP world. But with the Nokia OZO, it just simplifies the entire workflow, because one output from one fiber cable is an IP output of 8 cameras. And those 8 cameras, I don't have to synchronize, I don't have to time them, I don't have to do anything. I go straight from one cable right back to my control station, and in there it goes into the live server. The live server takes all those 8 cameras, stitches it, and gives me a 4K broadcast output, a 4K quad output. When I have 3 cameras with 4K output, then I take them to a switcher. I mix those 4 cameras, 3 cameras, 4 cameras, it could be 8 cameras. And then again, I encode the mix output back to encoding servers, which again takes back the same switched output of 3 cameras or multiple cameras with metadata into the servers. The servers then send this output back to whichever is your CDNs, and the CDNs will further transfer to your Samsung devices, viewing devices, or it could be an Oculus Rift or HTC Vive.
I want to drill in a little bit more, because each of these cameras is a 2K camera, but we have multiple audio as well. So can you tell me how we're handling the audio from these microphones on this one, on that one, on that one, what's the audio workflow, and how does it work with the video workflow?
Along the 8 cameras in the single feed, we also have the ability to have a stereo pair of 5.1, or all of the 8 cameras giving 8 microphones in 3D space. So all these 8 outputs of the 8 cameras, the mics also come into the switcher, and we convert that audio into analog audio. It's AES embedded audio. We take it onto an audio mixer, mix all the 8 cameras into one stream, and then again embed it back into the stream of the encoding server.
Okay, so here we are in the heart of the stadium at Hong Kong Stadium, and this is the television center, and this is the rack of equipment for the 360 VR production. And from Ideal Systems, we have Darren Breeze, who is our expert on the software and the distribution side. So because he is the expert and because I'm not, I'm going to get Darren to explain, after the signal has come through the Nokia OZO 360, through our stitching, through all of the equipment that we mentioned earlier, then it has to get out to distribution, to multiple platforms and multiple applications. So Darren, if you could tell us about the distribution side, I'll hand you over the mic here. It's very noisy, we've got to keep the mic close.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Fenton. What we do is we take the output in 4K from the vision switcher and we pass it through to 2 harmonic encoders. And out of that, we're creating 7 outstreams at the moment for the rugby. We're doing a dash stream at 4K, a dash stream at multi-resolution from HD down. That is used for the heads-up display visors, which Vincent will now model for you. Also, we're creating a number of HLS feeds as well, one in 4K, one in multi-rate. That is used for web properties, so our client will take it out and put it on their website. Further to that, we're also sending RTMP streams out to Facebook and to YouTube as well, so they'll have YouTube Live. Coupled with that also, for YouTube publishing, we appear on the 360 channel in Google Cardboard. So the platforms we're dealing with are the Oculus products. So it's the Gear VR from Samsung. We're also servicing the Vive from HTC. They're the 4K platforms. Underneath that, we've got the website outputs from our client to run on their Navigator property. They're doing sit down at your PC and scroll around type VR. What we have here also is 2 publishing servers. So there's 2 ways of delivering to the CDNs. We're doing push to a number of CDNs. So we basically publish on 2 publishing servers that are put together by us. And then there's a number of CDNs coming in and picking up from our file system and then republishing on the CDN. Also for YouTube and Facebook, we actually push straight from the encoders through via RTMP through the firewalls. So we also provide the network security. And the backhaul to the internet is done via 2 fiber 1 gig links. So we have main and backup, main and backup. Everything is dual path and redundant. We're basically publishing a couple of versions of this program in different resolutions to a CDN, which is then used for the main distribution for the 4K and the subsequent, the lower resolution as well. And that's dash streaming as well. So we're doing dash, we're doing HLS, we're doing RTMP, all out of one process on the harmonic encoder, and then we distribute it through the various publishing platforms.
Thank you very much. So that's the distribution side. This distribution going out to these multiple platforms, multiple types of headsets. And as you saw earlier on the pitch, we've got all those cameras out there being switched through the switcher. We're outside the front gates here on Saturday morning at the Cathay Pacific HKSB Hong Kong Sevens 2017. With me here is Alex Berryman from PCCW Global, and he's responsible for having Ideal here and having the Nokia 360s here, where Ideal Systems have all the setup and the cameras and the switching, and we're handing off into PCCW. Alex, thanks very much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you're hugely busy. There's hundreds of thousands of people heading into the stadium at the moment, and the party atmosphere is really on here in Hong Kong. Beautiful sunny day as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about what PCCW's use of the VR footage and what its plans are, and where this VR footage is going, how it's getting there?
Thank you. So PCCW Global is expanding its media delivery capabilities, and part of that we see VR as a big future in media delivery. Our specialty is in the network delivery and connectivity, and we believe that bandwidth is going to be a huge part of delivering live VR. So PCCW Global has partnered up with Ideal Systems to deliver this source-to-screen VR project. Ideal Systems has provided all the VR production skills and expertise, while PCCW Global has contributed on the connectivity and media delivery. Together, that brings a source-to-screen solution for the Hong Kong Sevens.
How do you feel about really being first in the world to do 360 stereoscopic 3D 4K IP workflow? This is pretty much an alphabet soup of terms here of where the broadcast industry is going. You must feel pretty proud about leading the way, and really on an event of this scale, this is really the first time in the world that something's been done with this multicam. So this is what we should expect from PCCW, world-leading innovation.
We have been very excited to bring this world's first VR project. We chose the Cathay Pacific HSBC Hong Kong Sevens because our parent company HKT is very strong in the Hong Kong market, and together with Navigator support and Now TV support, we have been able to deliver a bespoke VR solution for the Hong Kong market. It's been great working with Ideal and bringing this new technology and the new capabilities to the PCCW Global Media portfolio. Ideal's been great to work with. They are a VR specialist. They brought the equipment, the technology, the production crew behind it, and it's really been a good partnership between PCCW Global and Ideal.